And again, we talk about now that they are allowed to be banned and allowed to be played. Kaid is banned. Kaid is the 4th removal from XTreme.
Definitely. So, going through here, we are going to see a Church Arsenal room defense coming out here from XTreme to start with. Interesting that we're not going to see a mirror ban. I mean, I know that mirror isn't particularly strong on clubhouse, especially since you can't do the half wall mirror anymore. Like, where it's like you reinforce one half of it and then you can put like a split mirror in. Especially since you can't do that anymore, it's not really being as powerful, but there's definitely opportunity for it, and I still feel like we might see a repeat of how Supremacy took Bank, where Mirror got through the bans and they just didn't use it. Admittedly, kind of a different map for Mirror, though.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about kind of Bank and the usability of Mirror and how she can be quite definitive on a lot of points, because arguably, even if you're having your strategies of reinforcements, they don't really even have to change to kind of allow Mirror into that kind of plot and points. Here's a little bit different because there's a bit more width to some of the points. Obviously, that basement with Church and Arsenal is so wide. And, you know, there are for sure places to play Mirror, but it's less of a kind of given, less of a kind of weight here.
Yeah, definitely. So, we'll see the Alibi here, but I still think that Alibi is just not a great operator overall. Like, there's very limited usage. He has a very specialized kind of thing, and it tends to just not go well for you.
I mean, as said, it's so situational. It's arguably the epitome of trick ops, where you are going for that trick. You're going for the one-off. It might work, it might not. You might get some frags. You probably won't against this tier of player. But, like, is that something to rely on? Is that a tactic you can bring and drop all the time? You've really got to think of that balance and think of how useful that trick is. But you can see them starting to put pressure. Obviously, Alibi is playing all the way up in Garage alongside Voy as well. The two of them are playing top floor here on this basement hold. I'm kind of curious about how this is going to kind of balance and break out and kind of break down. It's the smoke roaming really far from point alongside an Alibi. I have a lot of questions currently.
I don't mind it as much, though. I still feel like it's kind of working out for them, and in general, it's kind of hard to trick this. Sorry, to impact trick this anyway. Nitro's going to go out from Ranchero, but it's not going to find anything just yet. But we're still seeing pretty dominant roam presence coming out from XTreme. Like, still having operators upstairs, regardless of who they are, is still going to work out quite well for you here.
Well, Dogon might be about to walk into a trap that has been laid for a while. Easy finds one. There's Voy shutting down Dogon. That is the Habana off the table. More bullets being traded. Eisen manages to shut down Yogurts as well, and they are in with the diffuser, getting the plant on the close church wall. More pressure coming out. Voy is closing down. Falco and Ranchero, and Falco again managing to shut down, but the diffuser is planted, and it's just a matter of getting the diffuser broken now.
Yeah, great retake coming out from XTreme, and as I said, still having roamers that late on the board is just going to go nothing but great for you, and they will win the round because of it. I mean, there's just a really poor roam clear coming out, and while in Clubhouse, the like basement defense can work out quite well for you with a roam, you should not be allowed to get away with such an aggressive roam, especially having a smoke upstairs. I know it can be good for kind of creating rotations for yourselves as well with the shotgun. You have an Alibi. The Alibi has a shotgun pistol. Don't need. I just don't understand why there's smoke up there that late on. Like, he should be downstairs delaying the push so that your roamers can come down and hurt the attackers for not doing a great roam clear and kind of just ignoring that. But I still feel like that the attackers really just didn't take advantage of that fact. There wasn't a great roam clear coming out from them to start with, and XTreme really just took advantage of that.
Oh, for sure. Now, obviously, we saw a little bit of showboatery there at the end. They decided who they wanted to take care of the diffuser with, and I feel like this is generally going to be the trend for XTreme. They as we said, they are the old guard of this game. They are very comfortable with how they play it. And at this point, I'm sure they're looking at the kind of lineup on the board, and I think to them, their kind of biggest competitor in Empire, well, who is everybody's biggest competitor, is off the board. Now it's just a matter of them kind of setting their mark as the team to beat. And this is going to be a hard game for DizLown, who are not only one game into this season completely, they're also a very young and very fresh-faced team. And the worry is here that XTreme are going to kind of go for a stop. They're going to try and go for some clean victories, which everyone always does. But, you know, how far is this going to push? Are they going to find themselves overconfident? Are they going to find themselves being picked apart by DizLown just for being a little bit showboatery? Or is it going to be the other way around, where the more comfortable they get and the more frustrated that DizLown get against this team, that'd be where things start to go wrong?
Potentially. I still think that XTreme are just going to come out on top here, mostly because of their experience. And, I mean, it should be said that DizLown, they qualify for the league through Vitality losing their spotlight. They didn't qualify just right at the start, and we haven't seen them have a win yet. So there's much to be said about where DizLown are as a team right now. And, you know, the competition in CCS EU right now, it is not easy. There is a lot of very, very, very good teams, and XTreme is definitely one of them. And it's definitely the favorites, I would say, to win the entire thing. So this is going to be a pretty difficult one for DizLown. At the moment, their coordination just doesn't seem to be there right now. Like, looking at how they're pushing and looking at kind of how all over the place they are, like, they're doing a construction push, but there's still so many roamers on the board. We still got Falco just messing about in strip down there. There's just no control right now, like, to actually do a construction push.
Yeah, I mean, they're just having a good time. They're kind of, as I said, sitting around in strip. I commented on the roaming Smoke, who did just come down to point and shut stuff down. And it feels like they're so comfortable with it that they're bringing and making these decisions where they don't need to feel too much pressure, even whilst being pressured. And we can see, obviously, DizLown are setting themselves up. They're pushing against the Yogurts, who's just going to throw a C4 there. Doesn't get any bites. Things are being Habana'd and taken care of, but they're also being dropped as well. Livin covering the long angles with that ACOG, wanting them to push, and sitting all the way in garage with no real competition. They're throwing a lot towards the construction push. There goes the first frag. The frag physically taken by the ADS. 45 seconds left with only the Maestro taken off so far.
Definitely. There's still a lot of control here though for XTreme, and they do have quite a lot of that going for them. Yogus has managed to push all the way up here as well, and there's no east-wall control, and oh no, TK onto Dog, and that is just not how things should be going right now. It's all going to be falling apart as Rykos goes down as well. 20 seconds left to go on the clock, and they have to start closing in, but Void's going to stop them from doing it. 15 seconds left to go on the clock. There's no nades, no utility available, but Aizen will pick up a kill regardless of all of that. And now a 1v3 all down to him, and he won't be able to find anything. XTreme Video will take round number 2. They're doing very, very well for themselves right now.
Yeah, I mean, we saw them getting kills from deep underneath point. They're kind of playing with these angles, and they're under pressure, sure. They're letting them kind of get to the wall, and then from then on, they're not giving anything away. They're just holding the frags and getting those trades. And yeah, in the first round, the diffuser went down, but it looked like a fairly effortless retake for XTreme. They're kind of playing or letting DizLown play right into their hand and then just closing around them. And it is really, really showing their experience as a team and their comfort at playing with each other. To be a team that is happy to let them get that close to your door without even really trying to slow them down at that point. It's the makings of either a great team or a team that has a bit too much confidence.
Yeah, definitely. So, moving through into round number 3, we are going to see a gym and bedroom defense coming through. No castle coming through. I mean, it's a little bit confusing, especially considering there's been no sledge coming out from the attackers. But at the same time, I'm not that bothered about if you're not going to ban trick the wall. You don't necessarily need the castle here, but I still would like to see it come out. I still really just do not like the alibi being brought here. I mean, on top of the fact that her utility isn't really that strong, her gun sucks. You've already got shotguns and shotgun pistol in the form of Maestro and Smoke. I just don't understand the alibi pick here. I feel like it's a kind of a like, oh, I just want to play alibi today.
That's a lot of the vibe I'm getting as well. Yeah, they're chill about this. They're not pressured. They're having a good time. It's the first game, obviously, that they've played in a while for CCS. They're comfortable, and there is no shaking that until they start to lose rounds, until they start to drop rounds. That is when I think we'll start to see things like the alibi taken care of. The double hard destruction on both sides. Only one gets bandit tricked, and they chose poorly. Habanas get taken, but Thermite does not, and that is Jacuzzi open for XTreme now to find the battle being droned out, but Yogurts is just going to take the fight anyway.
I love how Yogurts is just so confident that he can take fights like that.
As my friend would say, time to make a new door.
Alibi, unfortunately, less confidence. Sophia finds the shutdown.
And yeah, it's been going pretty well for both sides, honestly, but there we go. My point that Alibi's just going to move past it. Rencho just putting that very late round Evil Eye down. There's also like some really late round stuff going on from XTreme overall, like in terms of their utility deployment and their rotates, and I just kind of get the feeling from them they're just not serious about this.
Yeah, I mean, again, you've got to kind of find the kind of break of comfort, and when you do get too comfortable, that's when these teams can surprise you, because yeah, it's the idea of tilting, it's the idea of kind of pushing and prodding a team, and it's a mental game, Siege. As much as it is an FPS, with any competitive sport, any competitive esport, it becomes a mental game. You kind of got to have this balance, and some teams can break under this pressure, and some teams can really kind of turn it out. And if they're not careful, they could push DizLown into a set of rounds where they just get more and more ground, because sometimes if you are against a team that's heated that much, it's hard to start pulling back against them.
It is definitely very hard indeed. Yoga still being playing very aggressively around this Jacuzzi wall. Just going to try and shut it all down, but he'll go down for it. The Jaeger Avoid moves up. He gets a kill. Nice diffuser down. This is not looking too good, but there we go. It does get traded out by Dogon. He gets a kill, and DizLown will find their very first attack win.
You saw them pushing and pushing and pushing. The defenders just kept on getting as close to the walls, as close to the fire as possible. And, you know, whether now we start to see a little bit of a change, whether they go, okay, we dropped one round, let's play some more familiar, let's kind of go back to standard. We're going to head down to church, whether we're going to see Alibi and Smoke roam top again. I'm curious to see how this translates. How much of it was just BMing and messing around, and how much of it was, hey, let's play Alibi. Let's just bring Alibi.
I mean, at the same time, I feel like XTreme are now going to be like, okay, we need to actually chill out because we just completely threw away that round by absolutely just peeking everything. And it's clear we are actually playing as a team who does know what they are doing. DizLown have now proven that they have a good amount of, you know, idea about the game of what they want to do here. And we are going to see a downstairs defense coming out from XTreme with a little bit of a better lineup. I'm still not amazed about the Legion picks going through here, just because there hasn't been any Monty pick. But, you know, the Monty pick could come through, and, you know, Legion can be...
Time to be efficient and kind.
Yeah, obviously they pushed quite hard onto church previously. They went straight for that kind of close church wall. You can see the one that Yogurts is reinforcing right now. Again, they had, last time XTreme had two top floor roamers on this exact point. They were bringing, obviously, the Smoke, and they were bringing Alibi upstairs. Neither of those are up there. They've thrown all five generally downstairs. Falco, I say all five. Four of them out downstairs, and Falco on the Jaeger is the one that's going to be frags. Let them some firefight. And again, this seems like a more familiar lineup from them. They've dropped Alibi in exchange for Jaeger, and they're letting Jaeger run around upstairs and try and pick the frags and pick the firefights, instantly getting blue stockroom hatch down, onto blue and generator, and worried about anyone coming around to close down, and that is going to be what is Jaeger's job. But they have the ability to get the vertical control. Maverick is off the table. They've got the other 2 drop downs theoretically, but last time they did then push obviously against Church, bring in the double hard destruction, just gives them more freedom, gives them more possibility. And I guess if there was a place at a point to bring it, this is your boy, this is your point, this is your map, this is where the double hard destruction goes. However, are they going to throw one down onto dirt? It looks like they are.
The dirt push could be a really good call here coming out. I'm still not sure if it's going to be the play, but like doing that call early on and just like going for opening the dirt wall. If they can get open the kitchen hatch as well, then great power to them. But at this point, I really don't see how you do a church take. But with the Legion being played in blue and that kind of momentum you have to get from that, it could be pretty good. If they get control of the main stairs as well, this could actually be very, very good for DizLown. They can really cut off all the rotates coming out from the players playing in church and blue. But this could... Oh my god, what a shot from Heats.
Yeah, that was a beautiful fire, beautiful frag. Doubling up in a bit of confusion there on who's going to hard destruct that, but there is the counter to it. Now going to use the thermite charge, hoping they didn't predict it. Going to flash it out as well. Go for the second one. Is there another impact to trick? No, there is not. The smoke is going to go down as another defender gets picked. That is the Legion taken off the table now. And it's just a matter of closing down with the 40 seconds left. Aiz is dropped. An Echo hit as well as he floats around on that wall. Closed down from the close wall. Doggos and Eisen get 2 more. And it is suddenly another DizLown round.
Excellent play by DizLown. A great call by just going for that dirt push as well. I feel like just XTreme are just playing way too aggressively. Like, you should not be getting picked from that kitchen hatch. That is something that just should not be happening at all.
I mean, we said 2 rounds. First 2 rounds, they were very comfortable and a bit silly. And now the next 2 rounds, it's just kind of gone, okay, this isn't going great. And whether we're going to see them fall back more onto their standard laurels, or, as you said, this is DizLown going, nah, you keep kind of messing around. We're gonna play our best, and we're gonna try and rock this world. And what they are doing very, very well. And it is now, as weird as it is to say, XTremes to kind of claw back this momentum and claw back the kind of control of this game.
Definitely. So, moving to a 2-2 score line. XTreme video should start to calm down a bit, but I've seen Super leaving. He's going to be taking the dock this round. No alibi coming out since XTreme started losing the rounds, which I'm definitely glad to see. Definitely not a fan of the alibi. I think anyone who's just listened to the past minute of this could probably prove that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those operators where there's not really a place for it kind of rolling around at this kind of time in meta. The guns aren't great, as you said. She's fun. She's fun to play. She's fun to do silly things with. She's great for YouTube videos, but that's generally where for a lot of people the line kind of ends.
Loading that.
Oh yeah, definitely. So we will see how it does go down with the rest of it. XTreme did very, very well on this defense the last time. They held it down very well. I still feel like the construction push was just not the way to go though for DizLown, and that's where most of their mistakes came down. Hopefully they'll go for maybe like a combined push, like a split push could be pretty good for them here. But they could very easily get this east wall open, because there honestly isn't that much to deny them from doing that.
No, that's exactly it. I mean, obviously we saw the kind of cheeky shenanigans coming from underneath, the bullets being put against them, the accidental team kill at the same time. They are worried about rotations, and they do seem to be setting themselves up for construction, but hopefully it's just a little bit cleaner, a little bit neater. They are completely ignoring the eastern balcony for whichever particular reason. Obviously, they do have the double hard destruction. They don't have the Maverick to kind of, you know, get rid of anyone that's buried in deep and potentially stop any bandit tricking. But at the same time, you have a lot of hard destruction. You have a Thatcher. You have a Buck as well to potentially get some underneath going on and get some cover. And yet, here they go. Here they push construction yet again. Renshiro manages to find one in and amongst it on the Maestro, but it's starting to feel a little bit pressured. We talk about them kind of allowing ground, but Renshiro with another one, which is a beautiful take, sees the head of a third and is trying to find it. There he goes. He is unstoppable until he gets stopped. But 4K for Renshiro. Aizen on Nomad needs to pull something incredible out, and unfortunately does not, as Void ends that round, and that was the Renshiro we are used to seeing. Ultimately, we are going to start to see this, I think, heat up a lot more and more as we get further and further into the game. It's curious. It's one of those things. This is, as I said before, young buck team versus old guard. It's just, it's interesting to see. It's interesting to see how these guys are going to start butting heads and how they're going to start kind of finding each other's weaknesses. The 6th pick to Nomad there. I'm glad we're seeing the use of Nomad. She's one that a lot of people talk about as being, you know, one you've got to ban. And certain maps in certain places, getting rid of her is just a given. You've kind of got to take her out of the equation. But so far, we haven't really seen use of her gadget. We haven't really seen it catch anyone by surprise just yet. Yes, it is an exceptionally powerful gadget, but it's also quite situational. It's down to the team you're playing against, it's down to the width of the corridors you're playing in and around, and it's down to whether you can predict and funnel pushes, and so far that doesn't seem to be the strongest part of DizLown's play. They're running great as a team, they're kind of closing down as a strategy, but at the same time, they're leaving themselves open to the more creative and the more kind of old school flanks that we are seeing from XTreme Video. I will say, unfortunately, you might hear my voice just a little bit more at the minute. Stand-up is unfortunately going through some technical issues, but hopefully will be rejoining us very soon. But for now, you've just got to put up with me and the amount of rubbish that I like to talk. But we go into the round now. Obviously, this is the last one before the split, so this is an important one, I would say, for DizLown, because if they can bring Clubhouse into a 3-3 at the halftime, that will do wonders for their kind of second half game in the defense, because they are, it seems, a team that relies quite heavily and stoically on their strategies, which makes sense for a kind of fresh team, and they're not really that comfortable in pushing things out when things start to go wrong, whereas the kind of history of XTreme Video and their kind of history in the game allows them to do something. Yeah, and bringing Alibi, which there's probably why Stand-Up disconnected in anger at the repeated use of Alibi, but however, maybe he's just trying to find some more fresh strategies to go alongside her. But 2 minutes on the clock, no one dropped yet, which is actually kind of surprising, because normally at least someone has bitten the dust. Again, we fall down to Armory. Now, they did lose Armory and Church pretty quickly and pretty convincingly. It was a quick take against that hatch. They were looking for fights and looking for firefights. And yeah, they did the retake the very, very first round by playing the roaming smoke for whatever particular reason. But a minute 30, they have left what looks like all of Church Wall soft, curiously. And playing instead a little bit into blue. Living battling a drone here. You can see they're already setting up on highway. They're already setting up for that Church push. They want to take it. And the amount of stuff left soft, I am so curious about. Boy himself is playing inside blue, ready for any kind of potential side push. But again, this is where DizLown is suffering. They're not 100% sure about how to kind of create new angles and create new pushes. Falco finds Easy in the meantime. And they're not 100% sure on how to kind of change what they're doing. Aizen gets one against Yogurts, who I believe took a run out on Dirt, which is a peculiar run out to take, but the fact that the Thermite is off the table is a big take, because now they are severely limited. Yes, they did manage to get the Dirt open. It's just a couple of drop downs they're now going to have to make their decisions about now. They are droning through it. They're putting pressure from multiple sides. There's 30 seconds and only 3 of them left now as Renshiro shuts down Hibana, and that is no more hard destruction. So you better hope that what you've opened is what you need. And to be fair, with Churchill being soft, it might not be the worst moment in the world for them. Smoke just going to stop any push. That is what you want your Smoke to do. That is what Smoke does. Going to do one across Moto, across highway, even. Renshiro finds one, Livin finds another. Aizen shuts down Boy as they start to push. But it's all over, unfortunately, now, at least this half and this round, Falco ending Eisen, who seems to be finding a lot of ground and a lot of kind of movement inside this. But 4-2 for the old dogs. This is, I guess, kind of what people predicted with this. They are a very, very familiar team and a very, very good team and a good set of players that have a lot of experience playing together. Church and Arsenal room we fall down into. I update my notes. A little bit harder to take notes now and also talk. We do Eisen. We talk about how he is really lighting up for his team there. 10-4. Pretty amount of frags. And then are the others kind of struggling to get the frags game? And to be fair, I know it was something that we commented on in the first game, where we talk about players that are outstanding fraggers versus players that are new to kind of the tactical side. And that's what they kind of rely on. I think we're going to get a similar kind of bit of that as well. A lot of kind of the young buck players, they'll either rely on their ranked hero stuff, or they'll rely on good tactics. They'll rely on a good balance. I think one of the things that forces the A set of that player, the ranked hero player, into the second set is when you go up against a good team. When you go up against a team like this, who you know are so comfortable, you kind of go, well, we got to pull something out. We got to pull out strategies. Otherwise, they'll just stomp all over us. But at the same time, sometimes that doesn't play in your favor. Because if you start to rely on something that you're not too familiar with, especially when you're that kind of caliber of player and when you're that kind of focus of a player, that's when things start to go a little bit worse. But I guess this is where we'll start to see how make or break their tactics versus their fragging is, as we start to see the push against their defense. Now, the basement point of this is the old familiar point, is the old classic point. Obviously had a little bit of change when they started adding the blue stairs and other ways round, but arguably this is the OG point of this map before the redesign. And you can see why it's so wide. You can kind of get creative. You can kind of get a bit fun with it. You can see they're setting up stuff for the rotations and the attacks and the other side of the strategies there. But it's not a bad one to have everyone on point. It's not a bad one. You don't really have to roam it. They can see that they're droning, setting up familiar cam spots. Whether Yogurts saw... Oh, there's the Lesion. Don't know if they saw... Yep, there's the Valk cam. There is no one really roaming. No one is playing off point. They've very quickly got that information as well. 2 minutes left, and they are already droned out the entire building. And they are starting to push slowly and steadily towards the point. Falco going to start droning as well. Hibana worried about getting Hibana tricked. Obviously, they do have the double hard destruct as well. Again, a very fair thing to bring, especially when Maverick is removed from the table. You've got to have the capabilities to not only get those hatches, but to get the walls when you're down there inside as well, or dirt. That is how big this point is. That is how hefty this point is, and it's so wide. And that's why you don't even have to play it with roamers either. You can just play this all down on the ground floor. You can start to see a little bit more panic. Bullets coming through the floor. The great drone work and combination there of comms, finding frags. Well, not frags, but finding aggression, slight shoulders, pushing them off the point. Renshiro finds easy as well. The Nitro Cell is used, but no bites for it. EIZ is looking for anyone to try to peek back with that MPX, which is, it's an accurate gun, but it is a technical peek shooter. Suffers a fair bit of damage. Renshiro putting pressure in from Memorial Room, drop on the moto hatch there. Firing blindly, 45 seconds, and they are knocking on the door with bullets. It was a team that is just trying to get themselves comfortable. Yogurts is pushing closer, will be spotted through that mirror window. A little bit of bullets come firing there. Gonna pop the Nomad, and the white peak comes at an unfortunate time. Void cruises through and takes care of Dirt Tunnel. Knows someone is behind 3 box. Eisen again lighting up. Drops from Shira. Dogon gets another one as well. Yogurts is done, and Falco has dropped in with the Hibana. Dogon gets a second. Shuts down Living. It is now a 3 versus 2 in the defender's favor. There goes Eisen though, getting a third frag. Renshiro shutting him down with a Claymore from beyond the grave. 1 versus 1. Boy looks the wrong way. And Dogon finds Voy. Big round there take from DizLown. Those are not the words I want to use in that order, but I have said a lot of words and I will continue to say more as well. Round 8. We drop into this. Now 4, 3. and we are trying to still get contact with Sternab. He's potentially running over to Falco's house to shake him by the laurels and ask him why he keeps playing Alibi, because he just really desperately wants to know. I'll leave him with that quest, and I'll keep casting for now. But Bar Stockroom, and okay, I have questions. Everybody has questions whenever this site is bought. It's Bar Stockroom. You have almost every other point on the board. You have cash and CCTV. You have gym, bedroom. You know, those are two sites that since the revamp are very popular sites and very popular ones to hold, especially cash. And yet you're going for this point. You better hope your strategy brings your game out here. Obviously, they're bringing the Echo drone. They're gonna have to kind of self-destruct the wall in between. This is such a point to hold, and yet it's a surprise. I don't think XTreme Video are gonna be predicting this kind of point, because no one predicts this point. It's a strange point to want to run to tactically. And when generally what you've been kind of rolling on is your tactics, I say, actually, I'll correct myself on that in a second, you've got to trust your tactics. And I'll say I correct myself because Eisen, who has been absolutely lighting up, and Dogon as well, who started to find a couple of frags in the previous round. Again, DizLown are getting a bit more comfortable, a bit more confident. They're finding themselves kind of gelling together, and that is what you want a team to do, especially a younger team to do, is when the pressure starts to come in, find your ground, find your frags, find your movement, and kind of trust in each other, and they are really showing that today. And I think that shows a lot of great caliber from a team, especially a newer team coming into this tournament against a bigger team. To be able to kind of take the knocks on the head and then keep going and keep finding rounds, it shows that's when teams are made. But we start to see them already droning it out. Yogurts obviously sees that nobody is freshly stood on the point, but no one ever is. Stockroom is Stockroom, but they are setting those nomads up. So excited to see some ridiculous nomads, to be fair, because that's the tradition now. As soon as a new operator comes down, especially one like Nomad who can do such silly shenanigan stuff, you want to see it happen at least once. And I know that X and Pyrite got to saw some pretty fun stuff when they were casting on Monday. I'm a little bit jealous. But Dogon is kind of holding just off stage, worried about someone coming in via kitchen, but there's a castle getting picked up by Yogurts, just running straight across that. We'll see the death and hopefully relay that information to the rest of the team. Renshiro is in on Billiards though. They just need Void to come around with the diffuser, and they can get a plant pretty comfortably. They're being spotted now. They still want to put pressure on the other side. Renshiro is waiting for Smoke to come just a little bit further around. Pulls out the Zephyr charge, and there it is. Smoke is taken off the table too. Just waited, and the patience Renshiro shows. And to be fair, when you make your name on a Blackbeard, that is what you get. You get a very patient player. Easy looking for the long firefight. Eisen again, who's been having a pretty good fragging game, is playing from underneath, but the diffuser is being planted by Voy as Renshiro gets yet another one. Now 4-3 post plant. Eisen finds one. Renshiro finally shut down. 2 versus 4, not the end of the world, but it might be now. 4 versus 1. Rykos gets the frag against Livin, but it's unfortunately a trade as XTreme take another round, pushing us to 5-3. Keeping just a little bit of a buffer, a little bit of a comfortable lead now. They're not letting them get too comfortable. See, obviously that board, Eisen really lighting up. Having an absolute fantastic game. DizLown again, they're kind of pulling around behind him. We've seen great play from Dogon and great play from Rykos and Easy as well. The IZ is, playing that utility role, struggling to kind of get those lesions off the ground. And against a team like Video, where they're very comfortable and confident pushing against Elysian, and they're not bringing a shield, start thinking of what else you can kind of bring, what else you can kind of put in that slot, because if it's broken, start to think about changing it. We're only 2 rounds into defense, so who knows. At the same time, what else can you say about these players that have been around for such a long time? they have their marks set on. Renshiro on Zafir, you've got Livin on the Buck as well. Falco, these guys have been playing forever. Yogurt's bringing the Nomad, so Yogurts has the history, and Nomad's the fresh one to the scene. But it's always nice to see these guys kind of, you know, bringing fresh operators, bringing fresh ideas. We barely saw any in the match earlier today, and Kaid has obviously been banned out this time. They want to kind of force the Bandit and the mute usage, mainly the Bandit, but so far we haven't seen too much nomading. I'm currently sad about it. I'm hoping that changes. I want to see something outrageous. I want to see someone nomaded through a wall and over a ledge into garage. That's what I want to see. Trick nomads. Give me some trick nomads, guys. Pro League players. Come on. You're supposed to be the best in the world. But Yogurt's setting up the Claymore, worried about the run out. They know how they want to push this, and this is the more familiar push against this, is setting up for the run out, setting up against this Kennel's balcony, kind of finding anyone that might be playing against it. They have the Bandit, and Bandit is ready to Bandit trick. They're going to, by the looks of it, maybe pop a Nomad through there. No, they're just going to drone it out first, so they know that there's Bandit, and they know they're being watched. Here he is. Bandit is locking it off. Without a Maverick, this is quite hard to de-shell. They're going to have to get someone on the opposite side. There goes a Thatcher. Sophia is the one on Renshiro who will have to stop this Bandit and get him out of there. Falco is actually just going to use the breach charge, save the lifeline. Definitely the right decision here as they start to push against it. But here we go, and we start to break towards point. Livin going for this cooked grenade underneath Voy, and so close to killing his own team. That would have been amazing, but unfortunately it did not happen. But they do get the Bandit open, and the Bandit off, and the wall open, even as they start to close in and close down. And see, Renshiro is watching for those long angles. But this is the close down. But Renshiro finds the first frag. EIZ is dropped and taken off the board. Rykos is covering on those stairs, watching for anyone pushing from underneath. Here is a beautiful take from Renshiro. What an angle to take down Aizen, who looked stormed and away by it. Putting more bullets and more pressure. Yogurts gets one. Dogon with the refrag again. This is when the teamwork and the strategy is going to really matter for DizLown. Livin finds one as well, shutting down Rykos. Renshiro just jumps in and gets the frag. Does not care for waiting around, and that is the caliber of player that he is. That was clinical. It's there. Match point, I believe we find. Yes, there is the words confirming it. Match point 6-3, and this has been a chunk of rounds in a row. So, Aizen 13-7. Renshiro not happy that he was not top fragger. 14-7. Really been putting up numbers on that Zafir, on that attack, and yeah, that's what Renshiro can do. Obviously, a famed fragger and a famed player for this kind of stuff. There is the Lesion swapped out for Bandit. Now, I did say that the Lesion wasn't really getting any ground before, and I'm glad that they have also seen this as well, and are also happy to swap this around too. But match point XTreme now. We start to see this is DizLown's time to take it. We go. I do like how they have been rotating points as well. And to be fair, you know, we never really know the specifics of why they're doing this, but at the same time, if it's to see how the other guys are playing and get some ideas, whether they know that they're against the best guys in CCS. Barricade up! You never know. But they have that standard setup, and I know Sternard talked about this before he disappeared off the face of the earth. It's the combination of castle here for the bandit trick, just hold that jacuzzi balcony. It's what you want to do. Yes, they've got the Zafir. Yes, they have the range of destruction. They have the frag grenades of Livin to roll under that drop down as well, unless Jaeger's set up an ADS above it. I say drop down, I mean drone hole. The balance of how it's going to go. So far, it's just been frag after frag after frag after frag. Will this be the same kind of gel? But see them a little bit concerned now about, I guess, about not really bringing the lead into it. They are opening up on the cross there. Yogurt's not wasting any time. They know someone's in there, or they don't and are getting very lucky. But they're going to have that Nomad as the early warning anyway. As Falco starts droning out the other side. Dangling, which is the safe bet to do just to make sure that you're safe. Eisen, the one who's having a pretty great game so far, is the one that is currently playing around construction and cash. Here's the breaks. Here's the damage coming in. Isn't going to go for anything too aggressive, which is definitely the smart move. You do not want to throw anything towards a team that is lighting up this much. But here comes the cooked frag grenade. Unfortunately, did it get the castle? I'm not 100% sure if Livin pulled that off. But EIZ takes Yogurts with what sounded like a one-tap. And that is always something you want to get. However, Bandit must have been pushed off. Gonna go for the thermite charge. Does get off. They have Jacuzzi open. And now it is the push closer and closer and closer. We're starting to see more pressure, more guns, and more everything. Down to Renshiro, who's worried about the cross peak. Obviously, Nomad is gone, and I believe that Nomad charge has been popped as well. Yazed is still watching logistics. Hatch, Rakos is watching from the stairs any potential push against Jacuzzi. And we're in a little bit of a stalemate now, as Dream Video tried to find the chink in the armor to start pulling and pulling and pulling across. Here again, just firing shots in with that LMG. Looking for any ground, looking for any damage.
Throwing frag grenade.
Still has a lot of lifelines. We're hearing Castle suffering a bit. At the same time, Voy has taken a fair bit of damage. Ella getting a rotation out of there. Has not been pushed so far out, but then goes for a wide peek against Renshiro, who effortlessly cleans them up and just turns and gets the pull and gets the frag. And now it is 20 seconds for XTreme Video to close this out on match point. Not the end of the world if they don't take it, but they're not a team that's going to want to just hand this over. There is the skeleton key, getting a close down. Easy gets the refrag as Livin just pushes harder and harder and harder. Gets a double there. Drops Renshiro as well. Two big names taken out. Raiko gets Falco as well. They are down to 6 seconds. The C4 goes, does not get it, but Raikos is there to close off Voy. It is not over yet. Update my notes post haste. Get a frag victory there and a fraggled victory there. 6-4 still sitting on match point. Can they keep this going? Obviously, they managed to pull back a little bit in the first half, but it did end 4-2. XTreme Video, they know each other. They know how to kind of strategize. They know how to pull themselves back from these kind of hot spots. Work to be done, really. The Renshiro, they're sitting on 15-8, an absolute monster set of frags and kills. But what? Unfortunately, Sternab has been taken out of the game, unfortunately, by the internet gods that so often plague all of us. So, probably finding a second to stand in alongside me for the rest of, well, for the second map. I doubt they'll get someone straight in onto this one when we're so close to the end. And I'm, at this point, saying that out loud, glad we do not do unlimited overtime, because those are the kind of words that come back to haunt me. However, we are going in 6-4 back down to the church point. And obviously, this was one where they kind of did okay on it. They kind of held their own. They got the frags. It came down to a little bit of a fragging match on the wire, which is, to be fair, that's where they've managed to be able to take XTreme Video. DizLown have pushed it all the way to the very end, put XTreme Video in a tight spot where they can't just rely on strategies. They've got to throw themselves into these situations and throw themselves into these fragging matches. And when you are so resting on your laurels and comfortable to the point where you're kind of playing a bit relaxed, That's when you make mistakes, because you're not in the right frame of mind that DizLown obviously are in. They're pushed into this state of mind where they've got to always be giving 110%. They've got to always be bringing their A game. Otherwise, they will lose. And fair play to them. They are doing their hardest. They are bringing it against a team that statistically are pretty stacked. It's the old familiar David versus Goliath kind of match. They're setting up the similar kind of stuff that they did before. Obviously, they pushed down through dirt last time. There was a bit of a battle above kitchen hatch as well, trying to get the hatch open, trying to get it covered. But they also managed to get motor hatch open. They managed to get all of their vertical control and just start closing down. And this is one of the things we commented about DizLown, is how much they rely on their strategies, how much they kind of rely on their comfort and what they know. And then when that starts to fall apart, how they can kind of respond to that. That's really what's going to be the make or break of their team against a team like this, who, so as I've said it many times, again, still waiting on that crazy Nomad. Still waiting on that Nomad trick through walls now. Every time I see Nomad and I don't see something crazy, the amount of walls I want someone to get Nomaded in goes up by 1. That's how I'm going to play this. But all hatches open, Yogurt's putting pressure in. Has obviously all of those air jabs left. Voy is droning out alongside Dirt. The Jaeger is just going to push and take the drone, which is a fair enough thing to do. And Thermite's just not going to bother with it. Going to say, well, Jaeger's there, so I'm not going to mess with that. You can see they've got to the hatch much quicker. Extreme Video. They're still kind of being a bit blasé about playing on top of it, though. Suffering a fair chunk of damage. Liven is opening up those soft walls from above, bucking down to that church connector wall as well, making sure that no one is just sitting and waiting. Falco is really looking for this firefight as the Nomad air jab gets reloaded. Jaeger's still just deep inside tunnel. EIZ, there is a Nomad, but knocked just straight against the utility generator. There is the one that pushes them out, though. There's the crazy air jab, but no! Do not capitalize upon it. Renshiro and Falco again get 3 frags. Eisen knocked down. The diffuser is planted. EIZ manages to take down Falco. Yogurts gets the refrag, and it is down to the ex-Mocket Academy player. Easy to find their way back into this game. Gives away location. Still gets the frag against Renshiro, though. And is now above, looking for anyone and everyone. The reverse finds Yogurts as well with them. Beautiful shooting. Closing down, more and more pressure. Half the time left on the diffuser. 1 versus 2. Has the C4, but not sure where to throw it. But Voy is not allowing anything. Extreme Video take map 1. Halves all round. And again, I think that was a showing from DizLown that not even Extreme Video expected. What we'll do is, yes, try and find our second caster in the meantime as we go towards the end of this first map. The second map, for those who somehow weren't there, look at that scoreboard, obviously. Renshiro, what a monster. But then again, at the same time, a good spread across both teams. The second map we are heading to is Consulate. I'm very familiar map for most. Consulate, which was Extreme's pick as well. That was just DizLown's we saw it the first time around. And we have seen Extreme on Consulate once, and they won it once as well. We have not seen DizLown, who have only played 1 match against the Empire, who were previously in this at all. But we'll be jumping to that in 5 minutes after a 5-minute production break. Do not go anywhere, unless it's to get a drink and then to return very quickly, because we don't want to miss the second half of this France versus France battle. I will see you guys in 5 minutes.
I've got something for you, and I can hardly breathe. Something draws me to you, it's taking over me. Don't know where you came from, but you're cutting deep. When the music's over, will you come with me? Tell me you can feel it, though we're oceans apart. I've got love for you, I've got love for you. And I know this magic sparks inside who we are. I've got love for you, I've got love for you. I've got love for you.
Back here, still just me. Unfortunately, there's a big empty square to my right side, usually filled with the lovely Sternap, who has unfortunately been struck down by the internet gods as we are preparing to get into map 2. This is Consulate. Obviously, at this point, DizLown, they've got a lot of Epsilon on their shoulders right now because if XTreme win this, they go up to first place inside the CCS tournament. And at the same time, if they draw it, then it's still a battle between them and Epsilon in first and second. All down to this Consulate that, again, XTreme, the old dogs, the old guard, Livin, Falco, Yogurt, Ranchero, and Voy know very well. But DizLown were doing some pretty great stuff to surprise us. So, curious to see how much this changes inside the second map and whether the bans are going to be a little bit more particular. Find out on the next screen. Now, again, we are still, I believe, looking for a second caster as well. You might suddenly hear a voice alongside me at some point. For now, again, you'll still just have to put up with me. I am so terribly sorry, but if there's anyone to at and blame, it is Sternab, not me. DizLown going with the first bans. You can see them taking a little bit of time at first to decide what they want to take care of. Obviously, Glaz and Pulse were the original two, and it's Nomad gone. And to be fair, that's a fair ban. Because in the previous map, I know I kept on going on about wanting to see crazy Nomad stuff. And the crazy Nomad stuff we ended up seeing kind of did put pressure and did kind of push them out of their kind of little hidey holes. And that's exactly what you want to do. DeKB is the one removed by XTreme. They do not want to face her. And the previous ban was Maverick, and that's very much a map ban. That's very much a situational ban because Maverick has way less of an impact on this map than he does on Clubhouse. Clubhouse is definitely his place to play. The second ban was Kaid, but no, Valkyrie, and yep, that is a map ban. Valkyrie, you cannot let her get through the ban phase unless you are comfortable playing IQ every single round, because she just gives you so much information. She gives you too much. That is Valkyrie, that is her power. And Pulse is the one removed. So that is the same defender ban, the only same ban from the previous map brought over. Go into XTreme's map pick now. Starting on the attack. They are starting on the attack. Peculiar. But I'm curious to see how they kind of play this. Obviously, we've talked about the differences in the age of the teams, just in the teams themselves. I guess it kind of players as well. DizLown are a fairly fresh-faced younger team. At the same time, multiple members of XTreme have multiple LANs under their belt. They've been around the block in the best of ways. You know, the word comfort is thrown around so much. It's how much that translates and how much you can kind of pick that apart. Yeah, you have so much footage and so much history of the other team, but being able to use it, being able to confidently start picking them apart, especially when you are a fresher team, that's always the big challenge and always the big change. But what we are being told now is I will be getting a co-caster soon, which is good because I think I'm about to lose my voice, which is always a wonderful thing to do. And I believe I'll be joined by one of the American casters, one of our lovely CCS NA casters is going to be getting a quick plane over to the EU side and joining me on side this final map. And I'm going to not spoil the surprise for all you NA fans out there, but they get the idea, they get the joy of watching some great EU stuff. We're gonna show them what it's like on this side of the pond. But for now, until they get in, we can see Rykos wasting no time getting that outside peek. Vigil brutally putting a hole and a hamper, dropping one of the hard destructors and then rotating straight out of there. What a way to open this for DizLown. Exactly what they needed to do. My God, that is exactly how you want to open up this firefight, open up this battle, and open up this trade, especially when it is Livin on that Hibana. He's going to be not happy about that, but do not expect to pull that multiple times. To be fair, though, this is what you kind of got to do against this team. Don't rely on defaults. Don't rely on strategies. Be confident in yourselves as frags. Be confident in yourselves. Bring in these firefights, and that is what translates well. Rykos still throwing some heat around on Yellow, knows that they're going to be trying to close him down. Now rotates all the way, quite luckily, to pass that stairs at that moment in time. Obviously, anyone else but Vigil might have suffered a few bullets in the side, but you can see the amount of time being thrown as they try to shut them down on the top floor. Try to just clear any roam and not get comfortable. But this is the start of the close down. Renshiro is on service stairs trying to put pressure against bathroom cafeteria. There it is opened up. Firing a few more shots, trying to get lucky. Yogurts with the double floor peak, trying to get through the self-destruction as Falco gets that garage open. That is still the use of the one hard destructor, and there is just over a minute 10 left on the clock. Dogon is trying to shut down any push. Rykos is rotated back onto the bottom of Yellow stairs, and it is now down to the Maestro, just kind of keeping an eye. Still have EIZ and Eisen playing above as well, not being shut down. Those castles really doing a lot just to hold their ground a little bit. At the same time, you do look at the kind of operators that they're bringing. Void isn't even trying to close that down. Goes for the grenade bounce attempt against it, against Vigil. Does not get lucky, does not get the hit. Yogurts is now starting to try to dig through the floor. they, I guess, struggling to just kick them out of that point. Renshiro has made his way through down server stairs as another player drops off the face. And we can see that they are in a little bit of a standoff, a little bit of a stare-off. Now, Easy, though, shuts down Renshiro with tiny bullet holes. 5 versus 1 down to Falco, who is very injured. And Rykos gets the frag there. They're not even going to pick up the man. Leave him on the ground. He doesn't deserve it. He will go to Valhalla. And you could not have asked for a more surprising opening. Drink water. I will in just a second. You don't understand how much water I am going to drink when we get our second caster in. I'm going to just probably pass out. But console office meeting. And to be fair, that's not the start you would have expected. Hey, it's the best start DizLown could have asked for. I would be amazed and surprised, and if I'm honest, well, it depends how it goes, to see someone go for a spawn peak again. That was a one-hit wonder. Do not try that twice. That is what you can do with that. At the same time, we're seeing Blackbeard bought from Falco. We've got the new Hibana Elite skin thrown up by Hibana, which is always nice to see. There's no Vigil, there's no obvious kind of hard roam ops in the defenders lineup. I think we're going to see a more kind of familiar DizLown defense as we saw in the previous map. Just based on what they've bought, what they've kind of brought to the table. They have the castle again, which did so much to stop them and so much to slow them down and just stop any kind of push and pressure against the piano room, and the way they kind of held that alongside upstairs. Bathroom lock off as well. It's, you know, it's default, but it works. It stopped the pressure. It stopped the push from a team that, as we said, if they rely too much in their comfort, if they rely too much in their kind of confidence, it's just, we are, you know, we are extreme. We are the old school. We are the trend. It's when it will start to be a bit of pressure. Easy with a mirror window there, playing just across that window. I don't know, maybe I should ask my co-caster about that. Please, ladies and gentlemen, big hands together and big welcome for Azaraki. I've never actually had to pronounce your name out loud now. I've only ever seen it written.
You got it, though. That was pretty good.
I'm gonna take a big drink of water because my throat is killing me now.
Alright, so I haven't had much time to get acclimated with what's going on, but it does look like we have the first kill of the round going over to the Alda. That will be the Twitch off the board, which doesn't really say too much about the utility, since Twitch drone, it really has a pretty minor job at this point, especially when there are no bandit batteries around and no special walls that you really need to get open. But it does look like a second kill will be heading over, and that's the mute down, as Aizen looks like he's making a couple of very small peek holes over toward the CEO windows.
Yeah, we're kind of seeing a lot of pressure come through. DizLown, they're a much fresher team. They did lose the first map, which was their pick. This is XTreme Videos, who obviously have players like Livin, they've got Falco, they've got Renshiro, they've got comfortable, aggressive players in. So this is DizLown kind of going against the big dogs of one of the EU teams. So far, they found themselves getting a bit kind of confident on this map, which they really did not do so much in the first. But a minute 20 left, and so far, the mute and the Twitch lovers in opposite houses dropped as a crazy run out yet again is attempted from Rykos, but it's not capitalized upon as Aizen finds Falco.
And it was really nice that you mentioned the talk about just being aggressive and being confident, because when you're up against a team that you know has a lot of big history, has a lot of great fraggers, that's really what you need, because they're probably expecting you to play a little bit more reserved, to be more careful, and to basically try to play safe in order to make sure that they don't mess anything up. But if you are confident and you are aggressive, then you can actually take it to some of the more well-known teams, and it's really nice to see DizLown doing that right now. 30 seconds left. Plant has not gone down, and it is a 2-on-4. The attackers have a mountain to climb if they want to be able to win this round. Speaking of, looks like Void goes down. Now Renshiro gets one frag on his side, but it's still a 3v1. Very tough situation with 15 seconds remaining. Everyone's in really good positions. Easy peeking up the stairs. He'll be able to get it, and DizLown take the second round.
Well, as you said, it's so refreshing to see these guys who really struggled with this aggression in the first map. They were kind of being beaten around a little bit by the big dogs. They were being thrown about both metaphorically and literally, and I guess that's why Nomad is now banned and they are not allowing it port on this second map. But it does seem like at this moment in time, XTreme are kind of pulling off the gas a little bit, and you know, if they win this map, they go top of the EU scoreboard. Obviously, Empire are now taken out of it, and it's kind of given them a bit more breathing room, but it doesn't seem to have a little bit of fire. And yes, they are such a familiar team, and they are such a kind of driven-in team, but if you get too comfortable and too confident and you don't capitalize with the fire and the excitement that DizLown are bringing as just how they're moving around the map, you're gonna suffer.
I don't know if you mentioned it already, but Livin rocking the new Hibana Elite skin. It looks really good. I can't wait to hopefully end up getting that at some point myself. But
the animation is it's a thing of beauty. It's obviously it's nice to see it when your name is on it. So I'm not going to say too much, guys, but of all the elite skins that we've had that have been at times questionable, this is one of the good ones. This is one of the nice ones.
seems like it. And so far for this lobby defense, we're having a lot of pressure on the second floor from the defenders, which is generally what you like to see. A lot of times the main lobby plant can be really hard to deny unless you have control of the second floor in the projector room. So they will be putting a lot of emphasis up there. Meanwhile, we have a couple of anchors near piano, maybe possibly looking for a spawn peak, but that would be a little bit aggressive, so I expect him to back off pretty quickly. There it is, Wrench Hero just checking both the windows and making sure.
Well, that was exactly it. I think someone did actually go for a run out. There was someone who was detected. I'm not 100% sure who it was. No one's really obviously Valks off the table, so unless it was Maestro going for something, but Wrench Hero pop up and put them down. Beautiful take against the IZ there, which was just exactly what you have come to expect from a player of that caliber, who has been unbelievable on Sophia today.
We talked earlier about confidence and aggression from DizLown, and I honestly think that spawn peaks in general are generally not the kind of confidence that you really want to do. You want more flanks, more big roamer plays, or even peaks from the anchors, but probably not spawn peaks, especially against a team like XTreme, who has, like we said, all of these big names who know all of the spawn peak spots and will be pre-firing them as much as possible.
Well, that was exactly it, but Rykos there with the run out. There it is, another run out. The confidence is off the charts right now. They did in the very first round actually get a spawn peak against Livin. Easy finds Falco as well. Yogurts gets Eisen, but Easy is there to pick up Livin, and Rykos against Void as well. What is happening to XTreme? They have just been a completely different team to the one that we've seen in the first map. Actually, no, I'm going to take that back. They have been the same team playing comfortably on their laurels. This is DizLown showing up, and that is the way this round. They have really shone so far in these first few rounds.
I think Yogurts might have been able to see the head through the double, and I'm not sure why Dogon didn't take the shot. Maybe he just wasn't too comfortable on it, but Yogurts is in about 10 HP, so any shot from anything will kill him, even to the feet, and that's exactly what's going to happen as Dogon this time goes for the shot.
Yeah, you saw a little bit of dancing before he actually pulled the frag there, you know, just to make sure that that's caught by camera for the highlight reel, and that was, again, a very clean take. Yeah, they lost someone for going for that spawn peak with the ACOG, but they're still getting these run-out kills, getting these covers, and you're thinking on a map like Consulate that is so built in to the game, so familiar to a lot of these old school teams and a lot of these old school players, and yet they're not punishing these jump outs and these run outs because they're getting them and they're getting a frag. Sure, that's how this happens, but nobody is there to pick up the refrag. Nobody is there to pick up the trade. There's no claymores to catch them in midair. There's just a lot of kind of questions of why they're not preparing for this.
Especially after you've seen it happen a couple times. You know, maybe the first time you're trying to get your setup done and, you know, DizLown shows up with this aggression, it catches you off guard a little bit. But then the second and third time, you should probably start expecting it and be more careful with your setup in the first place. And we saw that entire round, basically. It started off with a good pick from XTreme, but as DizLown kept the aggression up, XTreme just wasn't really allowed to set up any of their attack. The entire time they were pressured by DizLown and they just didn't really know how to handle it. So hopefully we will soon be able to see XTreme just try to go for those refrags, try to hold angles even while they're setting up, even before they have everything in place for their attack. And that's probably going to end up being a key to their victory. We are heading back down to the garage site, however, and a castle's on the board, further halting the progress of XTreme. But with both a Nash and a Zofia, it shouldn't be too much of an issue for the attackers.
Well, this was actually something particular and peculiar about the very first round, is they were playing above in piano with Rykos on the castle, and they held that vertical control for the entire game, and we had an Ashe and a Zofia and a Buck on the board then as well, and they just did not seem interested in taking vertical. They did not seem interested in shutting down that castle and shutting down, I believe, the mirror was up there as well. And it just kind of all fell apart. And they tried to push directly towards Cafe. They tried to take the opposite side with just one person or two people, whilst the others put pressure on Garage. But you've got to be confident to. We got to do the legwork. You can't just assume that you can kind of drift into point, regardless of how the game's been going or the kind of experience of the players you're up against. Because as soon as you expect things to just happen and things to just work, that's when teams that have got a bit of fire in them can just take advantage of that and close you down. And that is what DizLown are completely doing right now.
That is especially true on a map like Consulate, which we all know as one of those maps where, as an attacker, you pretty much take it top down. You start at the top floor, work your way down. Pretty much for any site, that's generally how you want to do it, because it's so roamer friendly for the upper floors. Clearing them out just gives you so much extra map control and makes it so that you don't have to worry about a lot of those big flanks. Like, there is 1 minute and 20 seconds left on the clock, and so far, XTreme hasn't really gotten much map control. They've taken piano, which is nice, but they do need to start making their way onto site and getting a little bit of some extra angles. They've been peeking down the stairs, not getting anyone quite yet, but still a good idea to watch that angle as Yogurts gets the first frag, and we might be seeing a bit of life from XTreme.
I really hope so, to be fair, at this point. This seems the most coordinated they've been throughout these entire few rounds. Even when they were getting loss after loss after loss, they were really just not kind of waking up and coming into it. And this is definitely the most that they have moved synchronously. This is definitely the most kind of, I'm gonna say, standard pressure they've been applying. They've been doing their roam clear. They've been getting their jobs done. Rykos finds Yogurts, which is some very nice shooting there indeed. But again, they have the possibilities to work very well as a team. They just need to kind of find that ground and keep moving with it. A lot of a Western showdown right now. Pre-firing a couple of bullets against the smoke. Falco wants to get in and get that fragmite working, get that plant done, but without a little bit more pressure put against them, Easy again shuts down Livin. They're just waltzing and walking into pressure. Falco has found his way on the other side of White Van. There are 7 seconds, and there goes 2 more frags. Falco and Vi dropped by Aizen and Rykos. The peaks are coming out against them. The confidence just shuts them down. 4-0 to down. And, you know, if you would have watched the previous game, I think you would be just as surprised as I am.
Yeah, I'm sure I would be, especially just seeing how, again, like you said, XTreme has some pretty big names, some former Millennium players, and they just have been sort of crumbling on this map. And I have to point out, on the side of DizLown, just very good angles that they held on that garage defense. They had everyone in place where they needed to be. They didn't have control of yellow stairs, but they didn't really need it. And whoever was playing yellow stairs wasn't really peeking aggressively. He wasn't trying to get extra space and pressure the smoke away from his job. So if the smoke wasn't allowed to just basically toss his toxic babes all the way toward the back behind the van, then it wouldn't have forced the thermite to push up over on the other side of the van right into the Mira's sights. And so that's one of those sorts of plays where you want to coordinate with your team and try to make sure that you can get that extra pressure from yellow stairs and prevent smoke from doing that in the first place. But they unfortunately didn't have that setup, and DizLown just played their angles very well.
We can start to see them setting up again. What I have kind of noticed about their setups is they're actually adapting them a little bit better on this map. And to be fair, this wasn't their map pick But what kind of suffered them on the previous map is they weren't really adapting. They weren't really changing up what they were doing. And when things started to go wrong or go well, it wouldn't matter with their lineup and the changes that they were doing too much. However, even when they are 4-0 up, we're seeing them run A strats and B strats. And to be fair, it could just be that they're more confident on Consulate, which wasn't their pick. But at the same time, it's really, really refreshing to see, because this is what you want to see from a younger team. This is what you want to kind of see from a team of kind of younger players and fresher players, is creativity. That is what they can bring to the game. Arguably, you're entering a game where you're against the old guard. They have more general fire experience and trigger experience than you have. That is a hard thing to contest with, but creativity can always be fresh, especially in a game like Siege. I'm excited to keep seeing where this team develops.
Yeah, this looks like these guys look promising, because not only do they have the aim, they're not only just taking the gunfights and winning the gunfights, but they are covering each other. They are getting refrags, and that's something that a lot of younger teams sort of fail to do. And on top of that, like you mentioned, they're showing off some creativity, which is always nice to see as well. So hopefully we'll be seeing a lot more of them. And we'll see, first of all, if they can win this game 1 minute and 20 seconds off of the clock for the attackers. They do have a decent amount of map control for it being only 1 minute in, but Redcoast does take down Voy. Livin gets the refrag, however. And now Dogon is being pressured from 2 different angles, one in bathroom and the Monty on yellow stairs. He is actually just completely able to back off while the rest of his team shows up to back him up. There's the teamwork we were talking about, but Livin downstairs in piano room manages to get 1 frag, and Easy will take out Yogurts as well. That leaves us with a 3v3 as Falco tries to go for a bit of hip fire. Maybe he gets lucky, maybe he doesn't.
The roll of the dice.
Hey, he gets lucky!
Wow.
Oh.
That is one of those things that you love to see if you're a multiplayer, but no other player ever likes. The pistol hipfire headshot comes through, and Shiro on these windows that he, to be fair, made pretty familiar whilst playing Blackbeard many, many times and many, many moons ago. You can hear the smokes and the Toxic Babes popping off. Livin on exceptionally low health as well. Does not want to get caught in and amongst that final remote gas grenade. But this is a lot of pressure. The Echo drone spots are coming off. Just throws the diffuser out, and there's Renshiro punish. The kind of, I would say, erratic movement around that bench, but when you've got this much pressure coming, that's kind of what you got to do. It is just Echo left. Watches the Monty slip past. Here comes the smoke. Wants to catch the man behind Monty, and almost does. In fact, I believe does. Livin is dropped now, and at the same time, it is just Monty versus, and turns his back. Oh.
Yeah, you don't really ever want to turn your back on a Monty. That is just a clear signal for him to bring his shield down and go for some actual aim down sight shots, which you don't really need to be lucky for. So unfortunately for DizLown, they almost had that round in their hand, but just a couple of frags took it off the board. And now we start switching sides, so we will be able to see how much of this was sort of the defense from DizLown being very creative and very strong. Actually, no, we're not switching sides yet. I don't know why I forgot about the format change. It happened several months ago, so I shouldn't be caught off guard by that whatsoever.
It's alright. It's close to update day. We're allowed to make mistakes around that. Even if they're old mistakes, we're still allowed to make them. That's what you can write them off on. We see that we obviously go into the final one. Now, bringing the Monty, I think it was an exceptional change. Falco is one of those players who has kind of been known for his ability on Montagne, or Montagne, however it's pronounced. They always mess it up. Monty. But, you know, how much of that was them kind of getting a push against it? And to be fair, this is something that I commented on ages ago, was DizLown were originally bringing Legion to very little avail on the previous map. They were kind of bringing it in replace of ops that could have probably done a lot more work, especially against the lineups that were being brought, because Monty was never seen. Now, Monty has been brought, and you're thinking, okay, well, you guys have shown that you're comfortable in Legion, and you've shown that you can use the guns. This is when you bring him back in. Yes, it's just one more defensive round, but it would not be a mistake, especially if you are taking this same point and trying to hold those yellow stairs.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. And now we have not much else changing for the attack, but we do see that a Thatcher is on the board, so Probably just to clear out a couple of those mute jammers, maybe an ADS or two, but overall, this map in general, unless maybe they were expecting a garage hold, doesn't really lend itself well to a lot of things that Thatcher is really particularly useful for. Not a lot of walls for hard breach. But they do have him nonetheless, and that's not to say his fragging power is not good. He's got the L85. I think it's the L85, right? He has L82. L80 something.
There's a lot of numbers in this game. We can already hear battling going down at the bottom of yellow. Now, I think one thing that you commented upon as well is they were doing these aggressive spawn peaks, and they were doing kind of movements like that, and they've actually stopped doing those. And to be fair, I know that they've lost the previous round, but that is the wise move in this point, because again, this is a team that's just going to punish that. And I know that they lost the previous round, but showing the adaptability there and showing the comfort to go, this was a mistake. Oh, yogurts. Ouch. What a take there on the rotating Rykos underneath. But you know, this is XTreme showing up. This is an XTreme that seems much more familiar and much more comfortable and much more confident. And there is Renshiro on the same window, doing the same punishments he did before.
Definitely have to watch out for those sorts of things. You can call out so that your team knows, but the window, actually, the mirror window was taken out. Therefore, Yogurts gets a long-range kill and a second one. 2 headshots back-to-back, leaving it down to a 1v5. And Easy has quite a road ahead of him. And Yogurts, flanking down into Piano, gets a 3rd headshot. Dink, dink, dink. And they are all gonna go down.
That was exceptional play there. The teamwork and the coordination just shone. And that was a clinical and absolute brutal execution there of a team that is what we kind of expected to see when we started today, if I'm completely honest. That is, you know, experience, it's communication, it's comfort, and it's everything wrapped up with that gun skill that they have shown again and again and again and again. And it was just exceptional. But the changing of the halves now, 4-2, this is the real changing of the halves.
Yeah, for real this time.
Yeah. And we kind of see, you know, for the first time, the picks, but Kaid shown for the first time, at least in today's games, obviously banned out on the previous maps, as well as the Bandit being bought on the space mode point.
Yeah, so I think the Kaid is there to basically help prevent some of the piano room control that the attackers can get. Because if you're just relying on bandit batteries or mute jammers, then it can be really easy for someone playing in piano room to just break out the floor and shoot them. With the Kaid, you can sort of hide it a little bit better. You can hide the claws, and they might be harder to see. They might be behind a little sliver of cover. And so I think you have a little bit of extra variability there. And unfortunately, if I'm not mistaken, Kaid's weapons are still a little weak.
Yeah, he's definitely not really picked for that. Obviously, he did suffer the nerf with terms of his gadget between the GTS and going live. Not really picked. I know everyone kind of commented on the ludicrosity of his semi-auto. He does have the shotgun to start opening stuff. Eisen, however, not wasting any time shutting down Yogurts, who went for a bit of a revenge spawn peek there, but they were prepared for it. And that was the Bandit who decided to go all the way upstairs.
It was the Bandit. He's not going to be able to trick, but Kaid is looking to try to trick himself. But they do need to watch yellow stairs, and I'm actually surprised that nobody else on the side of XTreme are trying to play or deny yellow stairs. So this is actually going to be a rather hard trick for him to do. He needs to watch his own back as well as prepare for the trick. So hopefully he'll be able to do so. There it is. He managed to get one set.
But no,
no, he doesn't.
No, it was great Thatcher play there. Managed to shut down, which is unfortunate, but that's the teamwork that they're bringing, and obviously the experience they're kind of bringing. And this is something that we've seen about DizLown, is what they are doing very, very well is their strategies. They're kind of locking stuff down, moving as a unit. They are rolling with a strat book, and to be fair, it's working when it works, but there are times where it doesn't work, and that is when they start to be picked apart, because they haven't really seemingly got that confidence or the experience to start changing stuff around. I say on the first map. The second map, however, has been, for the rounds that they've taken, a completely different looking team. The confidence shown from them as they start to kind of adapt and change and move around has been off the charts, and you really want to see them keep bringing that.
even with everything that happened toward the downstairs and a beautiful one tap from Renshiro, straight onto the head, takes out Doggin. But as I was about to say, I still would have liked to see someone from XTreme play Yellow Stairs, play Piano Room, because if you cover those angles, then Renshiro would be able to push right up to the garage doors, and he would be able to hear the Hibana pellets go down. As it stood, he had to wait until he heard the actual Hibana pellets start to activate, but if he could have zapped them beforehand, it would have been better, but he didn't want to push up because he just didn't have any of his angles covered by his teammates. So that's a little bit of an unfortunate event there, but we are still down to a 3v3, so it's not too bad for the defenders, especially since DizLown only have 30 seconds left for this attack, and most of them are playing right outside a garage.
Especially when you also still have Echo on the board as well, which is a terrifying thing to still have, especially on this point when your Thatcher has, well, we know he's used 2 of his EMP grenades at least, being able to shut this down. Livin finds Raycross there with some beautiful movement and beautiful fragging. Accidentally shoots the ankles of his teammate who drops in, who then gets dropped, but it is Zafir. Livin is not going to allow that pick up. A 3 versus 1. The Echo drone goes off, finds 1 frag, going to push hard, but has to go for the plant, and it is just a matter of tapping that Echo, and that is 4-3 as Dream claw their way back into this game, 1 round after another, almost matching those 4 rounds in a row that DizLown opened this map with.
When you see an Echo on the board, and you know the defenders have that sort of utility at hand, you really need to speed up your attack. You can't really wait until the last 30 seconds because he has those Echo drones. He can just use them whenever he wants. And so you really have to be proactive in searching him out or be able to get enough map control early on that you can afford him to basically deny 1, maybe even 2 plants. And in that time, try to find and kill the Echo drone or the Echo himself. But we saw that DizLown just didn't really have time on their side. XTreme did a very good job of denying map control and wasting that time. And I think that's really the biggest difference in that sort of round there. I think DizLown had to go a little bit more aggressive, especially when they opened up Garage as easily as they did.
Sure. I think one of the things that kind of let them down a little bit as well was maybe communication, because obviously we saw the kind of, well, I say communication, the droning, because we saw the castle, I believe, playing above, and they just kind of pushed quite aggressively. They opened a lot, and XTreme are one of those teams where they're confident enough to kind of give a bit of ground and then strike back. They'll hand a bit over and then use the confidence of DizLown entering that to then pick up a frag or 2. And that's where we're kind of seeing them suffer, because as you said, they're not really getting the clear in time of the kind of pace of the map, and because of that, they're suffering when it comes down to the crunch, when it comes down to that final collapse and push and execute. Here comes more top windows being broken open though, and you can see Eisen's a little bit concerned, who's been having a very good fragging game, kind of trying to find a battle, but the amount that has been popped open here is just... That's the experience showing. They're happy to kind of play with them and play that kind of mental game and kind of go, well, where are we? Here we are. You know we might peek you. You did it to us. We're bringing that game. It's consulate. Everything's fair game here.
The fact that XTreme went down 4-0 and now they're brought it back to 4-3 already shows their experience as a team and how they're able to basically reconnect with each other even throughout losses and make sure that they reset their mental state. And we're seeing a very good job of that right now, especially when they switch to defense. That's a very good time to sort of get that little bit of a reset and basically say, all right, we can do this different side. We have strats for defense we can fall back to and we can rely on them. And so far, they've been doing a very good job. Winning 2 sites so far, heading up to the meeting hall. We'll see what they can do, holding a lot of long angles, especially this one from Livin. A lot of angles that we actually don't see in NA, so it's really nice to get a little bit of an extra perspective here.
Yeah, I was going to say, it must be nice to kind of come over and just see how we do it on this side of the pond. This is 2 French teams, Old Guard and Young Lions, kind of going up against each other now. And it's nice to kind of, you know, get the perspective on how both of these guys kind of like to play these maps. Falco shuts down Rykos there from deep underneath, getting the roam clear, and it's just going to rotate off. Yogurts, as well as playing through the corridors, moving underneath kind of the circle stairs, can pull up behind them. 50 seconds, and they've generally thrown a lot in on admin. Renshiro finds one with a beautiful swing. The smokes and everything is coming down now. The diffuser is being planted. Has the Maestro cam inside. The diffuser gets dropped, and that is just picking them off one after another in a gallery of death.
DizLown look a little bit shaken at the moment. They got an admin clear, so they have map control there. But that was really the only point on the map they had map control from. And so at that point, XTreme could honestly just focus on that little bit of a choke there, and they didn't really have to worry about anything else. The castle was playing on spiral stairs with nobody contesting him. He was able to get a crossfire down. There were two people, or I think there was one person in connector, one person looking through that angle I was talking about before, and you're basically just sprinting into a crossfire, and even if you get that first entry frag, there are still two other people watching a similar angle that you have to worry about, and a Maestro on his evil eyes. And it seems like he had two in there because one got taken out, and he still got a finish with one of his other Maestro cams. So it just, overall, I think DizLown tried to be a little bit too aggressive before they had any sort of a setup. They didn't really go for a roam clear, they didn't attack from multiple different angles, especially when you're on the second floor of Consulate. You really need to play those windows, play those repels, and put pressure on the defense. You can't let them just stand where they want to stand.
Exactly right, and I think you summed it up very well. And the previous one is obviously we've now seen 4 rounds in a row from XTreme Video, and that is the sign of experience. That is the sign of teams that have been in it a long time, because they don't let that shake them. They know how to deal when they're down. They know how to kind of pull stuff back, and they know how to look at the game and look at the map from that very, very lovely over-the-shoulder point of view and go, well, this isn't working. This is what we need to change. And yeah, they've changed up their entire playstyle from those first 2-3 rounds where they were kind of struggling, and then the transitionary round between. It is a completely different team we're seeing, and at the same time, DizLown, which are a team that doesn't have a huge amount of experience, are struggling to respond to that, struggling to respond to these changes that have been brought out. You can see, obviously, they're droning pretty intently. They're going for the exact same take to start pushing the other point, which is exactly, it's a fair way to open this up and a fair way to start your roam clear to get control of admin. It's capitalizing on it. It's finding a way to move in and amongst that.
Yep, even if you have the map control somewhere, you need to use it to get more map control over on the rest of the second floor and now the first floor as well, as we are seeing a lobby defense. Yogurt's going to get flashed, but I don't think anyone is close enough to really capitalize on it quite yet. And no, he's going to stay alive with a bunch of Legion mines on the ground. The Legion is actually a pretty good operator to hold the second floor for. Dogon didn't really see that. I think he could have shot that head, but of course we have the outlines that'll help us a little bit. Livin sees a couple of pixels. These guys are so close to killing each other, but so far we just have not seen anything quite yet. But yeah, the Legion is very good at holding the second floor. He's got impacts for both rotates and for times where he can look through the floor. Dogon gets a nice headshot through a couple of windows. And that is going to give DizLown a little bit of extra breathing room.
But one of the things I think DizLown can lean into is actually their fragging game, because so far we're seeing them bring. Oh, nice shooting there from Livin. We're seeing them bring a lot of utilities, and they're using them for the push. Yeah, we saw obviously in the previous round the amount of smokes that went down. They kind of lost someone downstairs and went, well, let's just go for the push. Let's go for an execute, see what happens. And it didn't work out. Regardless, we know obviously that XTreme aren't bringing a Jaeger, but the thing is we're not seeing anything to kind of go against that. We've still got Ying on the board, and we know they've not bringing a Jaeger at all. Why not look at stuff like that if you're trying to play a utility push? Why still stick on what you're doing? Capital bolts go through, but Yogurts just picks up a double in the mix of it anyway. Easy gets the refrag there in the trade, but again, that big loss to make. The Echo drone is just waiting for them to go for a plant.
And this is why Echo is so strong on this site, because it's as a defender, it's really hard to hold the lobby and to prevent a plant. That's why you keep upstairs control like Yagis was doing so he can get the couple frags. That's why you play an Echo for these sorts of situations. And I think he's actually just going to calm to his teammate. Livin peeks around the corner, gets 1 kill, but is traded out. However, that means that Rykos now is the one who needs to plant. Very smart play by XTreme to not waste the utility early, and that means they're going to be able to win this round as well, as the Echo drone still had plenty of shots left to deny plants.
I mean, this is what I mentioned before about the kind of use of utility and what XTreme what DizLown are doing with it, and they're kind of struggling with it. They're not kind of changing up their packet. They're bringing the same stuff every time, and yet at the same time, you know that XTreme are bringing this Echo, and they've been using it very, very well. They were playing Maestro and using it very, very well, and I just kind of think, well, what can they change about their lineup as attackers? IQ is a very good choice here to deal with those Echo drones that have been pretty influential so far. And I would like to see something that kind of revolves around their push, because they are obviously trying to set up for a utility push. They are trying to kind of find their positions and then go, right, here's the execute. This is what we do. We're throwing smokes, we're throwing whatever, but they're not capitalizing on it. They're not. Try and change that push up. Change your utility push.
I want to mention, basically give XTreme a bunch of credit once again for that really patient Echo play, where the Echo saw that the plant was going down. He knew someone was playing the basement side of Spiral Stairs, so instead of going for the concussive blast to deny the plant, he just tells his teammate exactly where the plant is going down. Teammate gets a kill. He doesn't waste any of his Echo charges, and so he still has them left for when the refrag goes down and when there's only 1 person left to plant and 10 seconds left. There wasn't enough time for DizLown to do anything at that point, and that's just really good communication and just holding steady, being patient. And I really like to see that from a team like XTreme. So we'll see what DizLown can do against it. As you mentioned already, the IQ pick to counter out the Echo, that'll be a very strong play, but they do also have to keep him alive long enough for him to actually get those Echo drones destroyed. And on this map, attacking basement and actually getting the Echo drones killed in basement can be pretty tough because you do need a decent amount of map control, and I don't think that XTreme are going to just give up Piano Room very easily.
Yeah, there's always a big fear on Consular of just the speed of top to bottom rotations, the kind of drop downs that line up, and they're very familiar. The amount of stairs you can hop down very quickly. There's so much movement capabilities on the vertical of this. You combine that with some pretty good roamers. You know, that's when things become a very hard thing to clear, a very hard thing to push, because even if you clear one side, unless you're a team that's working with very great communications, the amount of players that can just rotate around, there goes most of a Kaid trick, even. I say bandit trick just out of the history of saying it, but a Kaid trick there manages to catch a big chunk of those Hibana charges, and that is going to make any entry via that garage pretty impossible at this point.
Yeah, it seems like he did manage to get a little bit on the other side, but it doesn't seem like it's enough for anyone to walk through. And that should be 2 Hibana pellets, 2 sets of X-Kairos. Maybe he will be able to get the 3rd, maybe he won't. But overall, XTreme are looking pretty good on the defense so far. They've denied a lot of space. Aiza's already downed, so he will be brought back up. I believe the changes are through, and he'll only be back up to 20 health instead of 50 instead. So that is not something that you want to see for DizLown.
It's a painful place to be in, for sure.
Oh, he is actually still up. He's just at 1 health, and they at this point, it doesn't really matter for them to reset him because he'll just come back 1 shot from death anyway.
You can see, obviously, they're putting pressure on Piano, and we commented about this before. They didn't go for the full clear on it. There's the Echo, and IQ is off the board. This is when Livin is going to come and strike, and Yogurts as well. Renshiro with a 3K this round. And that's it. They didn't clear the upstairs. They didn't clear the roam. They didn't cover anything, and it's just a walk in the park for XTreme to kind of return to point and shut down a push that otherwise was just being stopped by an Echo drone anyway.
Yeah, and we can see just how strong the position on yellow stairs is, and that's usually one of the first things attackers take control of when they're attacking the basement site is yellow stairs. But DizLown just didn't really have control of it, and XTreme just ran down the stairs and had a perfect angle on anyone playing behind the white van. So, as we've been saying a bunch of times, DizLown just haven't really been able to find their footing on the second half of this map. They haven't been holding the proper angles, and they just seem a little bit lost. So, I think at this point we might see, since they're pressured to map point, DizLown, I don't think they're going to go back to sort of a standard set of holds where they just hold angles and play default. I think DizLown are probably the type of team where if they're put on match point, if they're heavily pressured, they double down on the aggression. And that might actually just be the best decision for them at this point, because we've seen that XTreme, once they got their footing back, once XTreme rallied behind whoever their in-game leader was, then they've been taking these defenses really well. They've been playing the standard game far better than DizLown have, and DizLown just really needs something to shake up the attack.
That's it. 6 rounds in a row. We're now sitting on 6 rounds in a row. It could be the 7th here if the trend keeps going. DizLown have to pull themselves out of whatever dark hole they've fallen in, unfortunately, and just start to get a little bit more fire in them that we saw at the beginning of the game. There was so much excitement about how they were playing, and it's just kind of fallen off, unfortunately. Alibi being bought from Falco, a particular operator to bring. Gonna try and, I guess, play around in admin office for a little bit, go for baits, but they've got to wake up pretty early in the morning to fall for an alibi trick. How long Falco is going to try and hold it against the Jackal that is trying to close down as much. Rykos shuts down Void, though. That is the castle taken off. I'm curious how that kind of fell apart. Shoots through their own alibi, trying to bait shots and bait targets and pings, getting as much information as possible. Obviously, this is the first defense, I believe, where we haven't seen Echo on the table.
It might very well be, and given what I've seen so far, I assume Valkyrie is banned. Is that correct?
Yes, Valkyrie was taken off alongside DKB Nomad.
Got it. Okay, so normally, one of the big things about Alibi is that even if someone does get tricked by one of those Alibi things, or maybe just pre-fires an angle and manages to hit one, you only get the reveal on their location, so you still need someone to capitalize on it. It doesn't do damage in itself, it doesn't really do any direct help, but Livin actually gets a pretty nice headshot on Rykos outside of the window, and that will even it up to 4-4. But as I was saying, the Alibi, I would normally want to see a Valk instead, but since Valk is banned, then it sort of makes sense that they might want a little bit of information, but they still want someone to be able to capitalize on any information they get, and I'm not really seeing that on the side of XTreme.
And yeah, again, unfortunately, IQ is the first to fall. Granted, there's no Echo for her to battle against this time, but it's a shame, I think, to see the kind of the changes that they were bringing for good reason kind of dropped, unfortunately, before they can start to make any real difference. You can see that XTreme have pulled all the way out of admin. They've kind of handed it back over and let them kind of take it. You can see Falco is wanting and waiting for a bit more pressure. Eisen playing on that balcony against the point, trying to just pick off a frag and pick off damage, but there is 40 seconds left. This is when they're going to have to start to capitalize. And last time they did kind of rush their push, and it did not go to hand. A miss throw on the flash there is unfortunate. Suffers a little bit of damage, but you can see they're trying to desperately push against those guys holding and dug on above yellow stairs. Another smoke gas gets thrown out, just going to stop any kind of plan, any kind of push. 20 seconds. This is where they're going to have to make a movement, and they don't want to be forced through too late. Dogon and Easy goes straight in. Easy is now in the point. Whether Liver knows this, EIZ gets a frag. No remote gas grenades. They're going to have to go for the frag denial, but there's the spots, and DizLown managed to take a round, keep themselves in it, and bring it to 6-5.
6-5, and DizLown still need to win a couple of extra rounds if they want to have any chance of taking the second map. And I believe XTreme won the first map too, so this is the difference between getting 0 points and 1 points. So you definitely want to get yourself on the board in terms of the long-term scoreboard. And XTreme are really playing for the extra 2 points that it takes when you take a team straight 2-0. So they do get quite a boon here, so they definitely don't want to rest back and basically let this lead slip away from them, especially with how much they fought to get it back. Being match point, hopefully we'll see a couple more curveballs thrown into this match. Seems like they are going to the second floor once again, which is didn't really work too well for them last time, but I think XTreme have a decent idea of what went wrong and what they could potentially fix. And they gave up a lot of map control pretty quickly, and they swapped off of the alibi, which didn't really seem to do much of anything last round.
That's exactly it. I think when you say they've kind of spotted what went wrong and spotted what... I think putting alibi in the strategy, I think that she didn't really add anything. It's very rare for her to add much strategies, I would say. And yet, Echo, played by Falco, who's had an absolute stormer of a game. It was a peculiar change to make, but hey, it's the change that they made, and they've changed back. And if they play the way that they've been playing on this Echo throughout the previous rounds, you know, it would be peculiar for them to lose. It is all DizLown's to take and all XTremes to throw, I would say, on this round.
This is definitely the time to bring out any sort of tricks that DizLown have remaining. XTreme, I think they, the fact that Yogurts is here with a Jaeger is probably indicative that they want to hold admin a little bit more seriously than they have in the past.
Yeah.
Especially given the ADS
In pocket.
can burn down so many different types of grenades, whether it be frags or flashes. Whatever it is, it does help them quite a bit, and Falco, of course, is here to back him up.
And a yokai in pocket as well. And a barbed wire in pocket. Okay. A little bit confused why they kept so much on their person, but hey, that's their strategies. We say they should be playing things a bit different, and I guess they really are. But they're going to definitely double down on the whole. Just picked apart Falco. What are you doing, and why are you there? And why are you going for such a bold rotate? But that was a very easy pick apart, that Echo. And now it is theirs to start putting pressure. Voy is just holding the bottom. It looks like Zafir wants to go and battle against the side. There is a lot dangling on those walls right now, and a lot of possibility for just some clever picks. But here comes the entrance. I think Jaeger has pulled out of their Yogurts. I'm going to keep that battle. Just going to hand it over a little bit now, that especially they've lost the Echo, which again is just a peculiar one to lose. Voy is looking for someone on those windows though. Really wants to get that main stairs frag. Knows that there's the dangle there and the ping, but unfortunately just cannot get the sight, as they believe they've crept away.
Seems like it. And I have to say, DizLown were probably very happy when the Jackal track came through and they saw that it was an Echo playing an admin. Because in that position, he is very much exposed, and so DizLown could put pretty much every bit of resources and manpower they have to shutting him down so that they don't have to worry about the post-plant deny or the extra information that he gives. But it seems like it doesn't, or it is going to be another boon for DizLown as Aizen gets Yogurts with a nice headshot through the windows. Diffuser starts going down, and Renshir is getting heavily pressured right now. He can't peek out to try to deny it. Going for a couple of shots, but doesn't manage to do it. Meanwhile, EIZ manages to get one kill on Devoy, and now that leaves Renshiro in a 1v5 retake scenario. This is almost impossible for him, and he will go down right away to Dogon, and we're heading to overtime.
So many decisions there. I just kind of questioned from the defenders. It was very, very good work from DizLown to kind of take advantage and shut those moves down, but Echo being in admin, still with the drone in pocket, because the barbed wire, I just have a lot of questions about that. I didn't really see where the castle walls had been put up either, but obviously castle was down at the bottom of the stairs, which it can do, but I just didn't really see how they were kind of playing against the push that has so far been a pretty familiar push that they've suffered.
Yeah, just pretty much a standard admin take from the side of DizLown, but XTreme haven't really been readapting to that sort of strategy. And as you mentioned, the Echo playing an admin, first of all, I guess the only reason he would be an admin is because of his ACOG. I don't really see any other reason he would particularly be strong in that sort of room. And he also, again, still had an Echo drone in pocket, and there's pretty much no disadvantage to just throwing it out at the beginning of the round.
No, none at all. It becomes another camera that is almost invisible. It's just peculiar decisions really being made, especially as instead he got Jackal tracked while he was in there, but his response was to kind of just panic charge through the middle of the room when they knew that pressure was coming on the windows. And you just kind of question the decision there, obviously. But hey, we never really know what's going on in the comms on the far side. Still, we find DizLown now with the momentum. They've taken 2 rounds in a row. They are back on the attack as well. I've said this is XTreme's to lose, and they're making a pretty good job of that so far.
It seems like they are. And so Renshiro trying to play for the Kaid trick once again. Like a couple of rounds ago, it doesn't seem like anybody... Oh, actually, they do have someone watching yellow stairs. That's going to be Yogurts. So they do actually have a little bit of extra defense here, allowing him to get any tricks that he might need to. And, go for it.
And I was going to say, they've got both the Bandit and the Kaid, and I don't think they've actually ran that yet. They've generally just been doing one or the other.
Yeah, I think they have, if I remember correctly. So there's a little bit of a switch for them, and I think they might actually just be able to brute force the EMP grenades with the sheer amount of denial they have. But Yogurts will get the first frag. That is a C4, probably upstairs into piano room. Something that you always like to see, especially when you're a defender. And it's the Ash going down as well.
Yeah, Ash taken out of the kind of scoreboard in the battle here, but again, they still have a lot of functionality on the board. Yogurts is roaming in meeting room, and to be fair, we've talked about this map and the speed, which you can get from top to bottom via clever drop-down usage. It's still got a shockwire in pocket. I guess well, obviously that's for the bandit tricking, but they've pulled far and away off of that now. They're pretty confident that they've got rid of any and all thermite charges. You can hear the mute jammers going off as well. They were full denial of information and denial of entry here, but Easy has pushed down those yellow exit stairs, trying to just get a little bit of ground. Sees the mute jammer stopping the drop down being cleared. They're digging through barbed wire. The diffuser is being planted. They're going to throw the Thatcher down. There's the Echo drone that hits it. Thatcher has gone down, and another drone doesn't get the second hit on Dogon, who gets the diffuser down.
I'm really interested to see what actually happened with those Echo drones there. Because it should have gotten shut down, and we heard another splash as well, but 2 quick kills on the side of XTreme after they got the plant down. That is exactly the situation, after DizLown got the plant down, and so that's exactly the sort of situation that you want to be in, but they do still have to contend with 2 people holding very long angles here. It seems like they might try to strong arm it, and they will. Rykos gets one, Rykos gets a second one, but the defuse is still going down, and that is going to be XTreme winning the first round of overtime with some very nice teamwork, covering the angles while a long arm was going down.
That was some brilliant counterplay there. To be fair, when you're in that situation, you know precisely where they're going to be. You know where they're going to be holding it and the angles they're going to want. And you've seen, and we've all seen, some pretty amazing heroism in the holding of the hold. I think Laxing won the Esports Play of the Month with his hold on a diffuser down situation on that close wall.